Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Courtney and I love reading books and talking about books. So today I'm going to do a wrap up of all of the books that I read in July, give you guys my star ratings and all of that good stuff. So starting with the very first book that I read in July, we have Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This is a kind of like small town cowboy romance. This was a cute book. I think I did rate it somewhere in the 3 to 4 star range, so it wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but I did like this more than the first one, which is Done and Dusted. And yeah, so basically you have Ada who goes and, love how I never can, like I'll read a book and then I can't remember what I just read. Granted, I read this at the beginning of the month, but still. We have Weston and we have Ada. She happens to run into him at the bar, and then, yeah, I'm not gonna give away too much, but yeah, it was really cute. It's got the small town vibes, it's got the cowboys, so what more can you ask for? Next, in the month of July, I picked up The Mist Thief. I actually read this one on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited for free. And yeah, this is the third installment in the Ever King series by L.J. Andrews. I love this series so much. The first 2 books follow different characters than this one, but this one follows Scotty and her love interest. And there's lots of magic and pirates, and there's fae and all sorts of really fun stuff. And this is another, like, this is one of those tropes where it's kind of like arranged marriage. But anyways, yeah, this one was a great read. I think I like this one maybe the most so far in the series. I feel like the books for me have just kept on getting better as I go. Okay, so here's how we're gonna do this. I got out my phone so I could look at my Goodreads so I don't completely forget all the details of the books that I read at the beginning of the month. So for The Mist Thief, I actually rated that one 5 stars. It had like, I would say like 3 chili peppers worth of spice in it. But yeah, I loved this one. I thought that the character development, especially for Scotty herself, was really fun to watch her just kind of like grow into herself more. And yeah, it was an overall fun time. The romance is great. I think that is the real like shining factor of this book, is the romance, which, I mean, it is romantasy, so that makes sense. Overall, can't wait for the next book in this series. I feel like I've been waiting for, specifically this book, The Mist Thief, like these 2 characters, I've been waiting for their story for so long. So it was really fun to finally have that come to fruition and see how it ended. But I also have to read you a quick quote from this one, because the quotes in this book were top tier. I do not know what kings are like in your land, but in ours we do not silence our queens. Slay. That was a slay. And then another one. Then be monstrous, wife. If that is what you are, that is what I want you to be. Ah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Moving on to the next book that I read in the month of July, Reckless, which is technically the second book, I think, in the Powerless series, although there is a novella in between these 2 as well. And this one, I rated this 4 stars, and once again, I enjoyed it. However, I did kind of end up feeling like we spent almost too much time on more of like character study kind of pacing than the first one. The first one's very action-packed. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of stuff going on. And in this one, it's much more just like banter, which I do love the banter between Peyton and Kai, like most people do. I just almost felt like it was a little over the top in this one. I don't know, it was still an enjoyable time. Like, it was still a 4-star experience. It's just that I felt myself wanting a little bit more plot-wise. So that's kind of where I stand with this one, but I still enjoyed it and still recommend. Then I read this absolute brick of a book, Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. Rafa is like the blueprint for book boyfriend, single dad. We've got the nanny trope, and this is all on the back of the book, by the way, so I'm not spoiling anything. But they go to Hawaii, and so we have some forced proximity happening. The kid also in this book is really great. I felt very connected to all of these characters. I feel like sometimes having a kid in the book can kind of not ruin it, but be a little cheesy. But I didn't really find him to be too cheesy in this book. I've had a lot of instances in this story where I teared up and even cried a little bit. I think like somewhere near the very beginning of the book, I was feeling a lot of emotions, which is always to me a sign that I'm really enjoying a book. So yeah, this one was absolutely amazing. Highly recommend this series. I think it's called the Lakefront Billionaires series. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then the next book I picked up this month was Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Now this is one that I had heard kind of mixed reviews about. A lot of people who don't really love spice have kind of gone into it and it's, you know, not their favorite, but I find that reading the author's note in the beginning that kind of warns you that this is different from her typical novels. This is less of a rom-com and more of an erotica. I found that to be really helpful in like preparing my expectations, and I don't know, I really liked it. This follows our main character, Rue. Rue, to me, she was a little bit, I don't want to say two-dimensional, but kind of, because her personality is not something that I've really come across in person, I guess. It was kind of harder to connect to her in that way. But Eli Kilgore, we love him, and he has a really dirty mouth, and that was great in this book. But I rated this one 4 stars, and I also gave it 4 chili peppers for spice. This is a spicy one, so just beware of that going into this. We have a lot of, you know, trauma in their backgrounds. Anyways, overall, I would say if you like Ali Hazelwood's writing, I do still think she has that really witty, funny writing and banter in here, as well as just really fun characters and fun plot points. So I recommend it if you enjoy spice in your books. Otherwise, maybe skip this one. And then I went into my arc of Dawn of Flames by Tessa Hale. This one is the special edition that she sent me, but yes, I absolutely loved this series so much. It's the Dragons of Ember Hollow. This is book 3, so I can't really give much away. All I can really tell you is that if you are a fan of like dragon shifters, fated mates, reverse harem type of situations, then this might be a series for you. The other really cool thing about this series is that every one of the books so far, so far, there's only 3 in the completed series, but they're all like a little over 200 pages, which makes you absolutely fly through them. Like, they're so easy to read, so easy to get into. You finish and you feel so productive because it's under 300 pages. So highly recommend checking out Tessa Hale. I think she's definitely an indie author, but I think that she's definitely worth checking out, and her books are kind of like underrated hidden gems. So yeah, love this one, highly recommend. Also spicy, by the way. And then I finally picked up Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. I had been putting this one off for many months. I don't know why. I think something about Magnolia Park's storyline was just kind of like, I was starting to get annoyed with it, because if you know, you know, Magnolia and BJ are just very toxic and back and forth, and all of her books, the relationships are kind of like that, but I would say with Daisy, it's less so. And you also get the added point of view of Julian, who is one of my favorite characters in this series. As you can tell, I love this book. Anytime I annotate a book, I obviously love it. Her prose and just the quotes that you get out of this, the quotes you get from Jessa Hastings in general, are always phenomenal. Let me see, I think I rated this 5 stars as well. So I did rate this one 5 stars, but let me just read a couple of these quotes too, because I think that's the real masterpiece of these books. I couldn't have picked loving her out of a lineup until it happened, and then it was everything. My first thought, last thought, mid-thought, the name I'd say in my sleep, the body I'd think about when I was with other bodies. Something about the way Jessa writes just kind of scratches an itch in my brain that no other author that I've found so far can do. Another good quote. I did my best not to imagine her here in my life how I wanted her to be, because I wanted her to be happy more than I wanted me to be happy. Another book that just made me very, very emotional. But yeah, if you have never heard of the Magnolia Park series, highly recommend if you are aware of the trigger warnings, like the toxicity of the relationships, how back and forth they are. You know, there's like, they say that these books are kind of like Gossip Girl, but set in the UK. I would say that that's pretty accurate. So just go into them knowing that, and yeah, don't expect them to be like your typical romance, because they're definitely not. My most recent read was a novel love story by Ashley Poston? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Kind of a middle of the road read for me. I think I rated this one 3.5 stars because while I thought the premise of the story was really cool, it's about a girl who kind of falls into her favorite romance story, which again, not a spoiler, it's on the back. She falls into her favorite romance story and starts to like actually see the town and meet the characters that are in that novel. Obviously, she meets a certain someone, love ensues. You kind of have a mystery this whole time of like, who is this character? Where did he come from? What kind of role in the story does he play? And I think the premise was absolutely amazing, but somewhere around the middle, it started to kind of lose me a little bit. I became a little bit uninterested in the storyline. So I would say the pacing for me was a little bit off, but towards the end, it did pick back up and I was interested again. Middle of the road, I would still recommend. I do think that Ashley Poston does magical realism like no one else. Her stories always feel very magical. This one in particular kind of gave me a Gilmore Girls vibe. Not like a mother-daughter relationship like Gilmore Girls is, obviously, but more of just like the town and the typical characters that you get in like a small town romance. If any of that sounds good to you, then I definitely recommend picking this one up. It's maybe just not the book for me personally, but I still think 3.5 stars is a good rating, so I would recommend it. Those were the 8 books that I've actually completed so far this month. Today is July 30th, so we do have one more day that I could technically finish a book. Don't know if I will though. I am currently, I started my reread of Throne of Glass the other day, and I'm starting with The Assassin's Blade. I think I'm almost done with the 3rd short story in here. It's going really well so far. This is one of my favorite series of all time. I'm so happy to be back with these characters, specifically Selena. Love it. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. I may or may not be finishing up this month with this one. We shall see. But yeah, that is every book that I have read so far this month. I would love to know in the comments what you guys have been reading. What was your favorite book? What was your least favorite book of the month? Some hot takes, whatever you wanna tell me, drop that in the comments. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this long-winded video of me kind of babbling and not knowing what to say at some points. It's really hard. I'll read a book and then immediately it leaves my brain. Like the character names, how I felt sometimes even. Like there's no thoughts. There's no thoughts happening, you know? So anyway, yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my video. I would love it if you liked, subscribed, commented, all of the YouTube things. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.